What's going on, everybody? Iced Crab here today, back with a brand new Skyrim guide. This one, I don't believe I've made this Skyrim guide before. Originally for this video, I passed around a bunch of different of the classic guides that I've done. I've decided no, we're going to go with a brand new guide, one specific to Anniversary Edition. We're going to show you how to take a low-level character, like straight off the rip, level 1, and get some of the best weapons in the game and some of the best armor in the game as fast as possible. I'm going to be jumping in here with a new prisoner save, and basically I'm going to be showing you all the steps it takes to get really high level gear off rip as fast as we can, and some tips and tricks to make that easier along the way. You can build your character however you want, however we're going to be building in a specific way to get on here. So I've got a basic Nord here. I'm going to make just a basic Nord, and we're going to be walking through from the very intro of the game all the way to the end. This is no mods on this run. This is the pure Anniversary Edition. If you have mods, you can use some of these methods. The armor, totally available with the unofficial patch, and with mods, totally available. The weapons, not available with the unofficial patch. So keep that in mind. If you're looking for the weapons section, if you have the unofficial patch, they won't be there for you. However, the armor should be. We're going to just call our character Guide. That's good enough for me.
You picked a bad time to come home to Skyrim, Kinsman. Captain, what should we do? He's not on the list.
So yeah, we're going to be going over step by step how to do this. You don't really have much options here in the very beginning of the game that make a big difference. If you want to be a wolf, that doesn't hurt either. That's like the most maximal way to get this build, but it doesn't matter to me. The character really doesn't play a big part of getting the armor and the weapons. So what I'm probably going to do here is fast forward to the next section, the next most important part of the guide. Alright, now that we're here, we're able to actually control the character. I'm going to be showing you real quick just how to zip past a lot of this stuff. You actually don't have to wait for very much, so we can just jump right out the window right here. Everything's based on where your character is for the most part, so you can just push through all this. You can do whatever you want. You don't even have to wait for any of this stuff to kind of happen for you. And of course, we're going to run right over here. It also doesn't matter which side you take, Stormcloaks or Imperials. I'm usually going Imperials just because there's a smithing bonus that you get slightly here when you get the Whiterun. But again, not important for this guide in the totality of things. Alright. And there's not a whole lot you need to do here. When we get a little further in this intro section, I'll be talking more about just things you can keep in mind for these guides.
There should be plenty of gear to choose from. I'm going to see if I can find something for the...
Alright, now we're actually at a place where we're going to keep some stuff in mind. So now that we're entering into this area, a very early game, this gives you access for the first time to bows and to arrows. And so why that's important, you'll see a lot later. But basically, it's very tempting right here if you're building an archer build to just equip that bow and start using up those arrows. And I'm going to recommend you against that. Don't use the bow and arrow just yet. We want to save those arrows for later in the guide. They're going to come in handy if stuff gets pretty tight. So just keep that in mind. Definitely take them though. Even if you don't want a archer build, you're still going to need bow and arrow for this method. To get all these things. So take a bow, take the arrows, and try your best not to use them. Now, something that might come in handy later as well is taking all of this frostbite poison. I definitely recommend don't sell any of the poisons that you might get. Again, going to be important later, not necessary, but saving those poisons is going to be really good for later in the game. I recommend not using survival mode for this method either, just because there's a lot of traveling and stuff going on, and a lot of pretty intense combat. However, if you want to use survival later in your build, go ahead. Like, I'm not saying you can't use it at all, but it will make the guide a little more difficult. You could use it for some of the kind of mid-game here, but once we kind of progress a little bit, you're going to want to turn that off to give yourself the best advantage possible. And when we get into the dungeons, if you're playing on a higher difficulty, I would definitely recommend dropping that down to novice, and you'll see why when we get there. Alright, we're here at the Guardian Stones, pretty early on in the game. I'm going to take the Warrior Stone for this playthrough because, again, we're going to need a lot of combat benefits here as we get further into the guides. There's a lot of fighting going on, and we need to have as much advantage as possible. However, if you want to change that after we're done with the guides, totally okay. And shortly after that as well, we will be clearing out the mine right here, the Ember Shard mine. It's really important to do this. Well, it's not really important, but it's important to do this because, again, we're trying to get our armor and our weapons as good as we can get them to make the guide just that much easier on us. I'll take the shoes too. Another thing we have to be cognizant of while we're doing these early dungeons and stuff is to save as much gold as we can. Having gold is going to be really important for when we're done, when we're ready to leave Riverwood and actually start the guide here. I also definitely recommend taking Clairvoyance. Ooh, and those are going to be pretty good gloves too because they have archery on them. Of course, that's a random enchantment that's going to help us out. But taking Clairvoyance is going to be pretty good because there is one part that's a little tricky to navigate for the armor part of the guide. We reached level 2, but right now I'm not going to level up, and I'll show you why once we get to Riverwood. Ooh, we definitely need this hunting bow as well. Okay, now that we've reached Riverwood, there's a couple steps we're going to need to do. First one is whoever we ended up siding with, you're going to want to see what supplies you can take and take literally everything that they offer you. Kind of skip through this early dialogue. Okay. That's not really important. We're not going to worry about that. Okay. Now that we've done this, we've gathered a bunch of stuff. We're going to need to talk to Fendal right over here. We're going to ask him what his problem with Sven is.
An intelligent, beautiful woman. I've been thinking, could you give her this letter and say
okay, we need to help Fendal.
If you keep on like this, everyone in town will think you're crazy.
And we're going to choose him over Sven because it's going to be useful to have him as a follower. So we're going to need to kind of do a little manipulation here. We need to talk to Lucan, and we need to get the Golden Claw quest.
You could? Got some coin coming in from my last shipment. It's yours if you bring my claw back. Now, if you're going to get those teeth...
to go through town and across the bridge to get to Bleak Falls Barrow.
All right. Now we're going to run over here, talk to Fendal, and make him a follower.
Tell me as soon as you've given I appreciate your help. Please, lead the way.
Now that Fendal's a follower, we have some important leveling to do. But right before that, we're actually going to make sure we have as much gold as we could possibly have. So what we're going to do is try our ingredients, and the reason we're doing all that, we're trying ingredients. I would do some smithing here. So because I took side with Hadvar, we get some access to this kind of stuff. Ooh, that was not good. That was not good.
You out of my way, stranger.
Not ideal. We might have to deal with the consequences of that later. I'm gonna drop that. I'm not even gonna take that. Okay. Try not to do that mistake there. But anyway, so now that we have a bunch of stuff, we actually need to sell a lot of this.
The sooner you take a look.
Okay, we need the hunting bow. Don't need the sword. Don't need the longbow. Don't need that. Don't need that. We'll keep that. The mace for now. I'm going to sell a lot of this unnecessary iron stuff. We are going to kit out our Fendal here. Again, keep the poison and stuff like that. We're actually going to keep all of those. Sell all the food. Sell him that book. I'm going to keep that kind of iron. Making so okay, so he's pretty low. Okay.
All right then.
So the reason we want all that gold for this step in the guide is we're going to do a little power leveling, basically. How much gold do we have? 1,200. That's about how much we're going to need to do this method. So now what we're going to do is talk to Fendal and do some leveling. If you have the unofficial Skyrim patch, this has been patched out of the game. There is a fix on PC to allow you to do this method. I can put a link to that mod in the description. Okay. But now we're going to ask him to train better in archery.
What I know.
We're going to go 5 times. We're then going to ask him to trade.
What do you want me to carry?
We're going to take that money right back.
Let's get going then.
Then we're going to level our character up. For this one, I'm always going to choose health because we're going to need that advantage when we get into the game.
I'm right behind you.
I'm going to ask him to train again.
Show you what I know.
And if you can't do it all the way, again, we just have to ask for the money back and then continue to train all 5 levels. Make sure not to level up until you've trained all 5 levels and taken all your money back. Alright, he can get you all the way to level 50 archery.
You lead, I'll follow.
I'll put all that in there, and then we are going to put it all into our archery perk tree. We're going to take the Eagle Eye, Steady Hands, Critical Shot, and Power Shot. Okay, all of our perk points have now been thrown into archery.
You lead, I'll follow.
Even though we haven't used any of our levels. Again, we want to save that for later. Another thing we're going to do is run here real quick before we leave. We're going to select the Golden Claw quest. And we're going to mix out what potions we have available to us.
Are you listening?
Hard not to.
The ale is going bad. We need to get a new batch. Did you hear?
Yep, ale's go bad.
I get you don't have potatoes in your casserole. Just make sure we get a fresh batch soon.
Okay, level up our stuff a little bit there, our alchemy. And then we're just going to Bleak Falls barrel like normal to get the last of the gear we need to really start this guide. Alright, this little encampment here is going to be pretty important for what we got to do. Just because we're going to get some pretty good weapons here. And we're going to get a full kit of iron armor up at the top here. So make sure that you clear this one. You go up the normal path. And we do have a steel warhammer, which is pretty good. But this guy's armor right here will always have full iron, and so we're going to take that. We're going to wear all that. Alright, and now what we're going to do is going to give our scraps to Fandal here to make sure he has some kind of armor.
Still here. What do you want me to carry?
Once you're in Bleak Falls Barrow, pretty much all you have to do is just complete the dungeon as normal. However, make sure to not use your arrows unless you absolutely feel like you have to, and to grab the ancient Nordic bow to make sure that you have the best available bow for the rest of the guide. And we found a dwarven bow. That's kind of really unexpected. That's a really good bow. So that's going to be better than typically how I run this with the ancient Nordic bow. But either way, that's just an advantage we have. Chances are you'll only have access to the ancient Nordic bow doing this guide. But we got lucky here for some reason. Usually this right here is the first time you're able to get the ancient Nordic bow, just off this guy right here. We'll definitely take that and make sure to take all the arrows, and that we're saving arrows so far. Again, we're going to need those bad boys later. And because I already have a better bow, I'm actually going to give this one to Fendal. Ooh, we got some nice heavy armor gauntlets right there. Anytime we have the opportunity, we're going to be taking better heavy armor, and we're going to be giving the armor down one to our companion.
Lead, I'll follow.
Alright, leading into this section here, this is the second area we are going to get ancient Nordic bow. So this is definitely the area, assuming you picked up the first one, you'll be able to get a second one for Fendal, usually. And this guy right here, he'll be the one with the bow. So if you don't have a second one, here's the best place to get one. Usually, before we head up there, I like to walk around the backside here because there is a chest available. Alright, and that was Bleak Falls Barrow. We don't have much more to do before we start the official guide. There will be two videos, so there will be this version, this longer version, and there will also be just the guide portion. But so far, we have done everything as best we can to get our character in a position to take on the next challenges and to get that really good weapons and armor from the beginning of the game. Alright, the last prep part of the prep phase we're going to need to do is just sell off the rest of our gear to make sure we get as much money as possible. I'm going to wait up to 12 hours here to get all of the stores back and operational so we can do this last part of the prep phase. So now that we've sold everything, we've made as much money as possible. I'm going to do my last level ups, put those in health. Now, you could either put these points in anything you haven't done on archery, but instead I'm going to be putting mine in heavy armor to give us a little more protection while we head into the next portion. That's why we've been hoarding up on the heavy armor. But once they get really low on gold, then what we're going to do is buy up all of their arrows because we're going to need them. So he did not have many options. That's actually not good. Usually he has more options for arrows. But we got kind of a bad deal on that one. And we're going to have to buy as many arrows from Alvor as possible.
The finest weapons and armor.
All right, if you're just joining us, hey, I'm not talking to you. If you're just joining us here on the episode, you're either watching the full version or just the guide version of this. At this point in the video, we have made all of the preparations we need to begin this guide. To go over quickly what we did, we've run through Bleak Falls Barrow, we have run through Ember Shard Mine, we have picked up the Warrior Stone of the Guardian Stones, and we've talked to Fendal and used his leveling system to level us up to level 50 in archery, and we've put all the points into the archery perk tree as well. The reason all that is important is because it's just giving us as much advantage as possible for the next part of the guide. So, now that we've done all that, we're still pretty early level, but what we're going to do here is I'm going to be showing you how to get full Daedric armor and 2 ebony weapons as early as possible in this Skyrim guide. Again, we're only level 9, but we're beginning our process of doing that right now. A couple things I want to keep note. Get the best bows you have available to your character. I was able to find a dwarven bow, which is very lucky on my part. And Fendal has an imperial bow, which is pretty standard and pretty common. Typically, you'll be doing this with hunting bow and the ancient Nord bow, but whatever is available to you will be as good as possible. And also prioritize that heavy armor. That's going to be a lot more important. Looks like we have an encounter here. We don't want to use our arrows yet though, so we're going to have to use the warhammer. But once we have some heavy armor and as many arrows as we can get, what we're going to do is we're going to head down to the Whiterun stables. That's where we're headed now. And we're going to take the cart to Morthal. Alright, once we've reached the Whiterun stables, we're going to want to unlock this. So make sure you've officially discovered it. And then take the cart to Morthal.
Where do you want to go? Climb and back.
It'll cost you 50 gold, but we've been saving gold pretty well here. This is the weapons portion of the video. So this part of the guide will be showing us how to get ebony weapons really early in the game. So now that we're at Morthal, we're just going to turn around and run back south. And that's what we're looking for. That Nordic ruin up there. So we're going to make a beeline basically for that. And once we start to see it, you can kind of see it right there on the screen. We're going to walk around to the far side of the ruin because we're going to need to head up the path on that side. Now, because we're a low level character, we have to be careful in this area, and this dungeon is going to be pretty difficult, but it's going to be way worth it once we get our hands on those weapons. Now that we're approaching the actual ruin, I'm going to drop a hard save right here. And I recommend you do the same when it comes to the saving, because this is a pretty dangerous area for a low-level character to be in. There he is right behind us. We're going to turn right, and we're going to make a break for the stairs. So we've got one frost troll. It's going to be tough to deal with these guys, so that's why I brought two-handed weapons. That's going to be a pretty tough fight, so I wouldn't progress too much farther without healing yourself here. Of course, on level 1 you get that healing spell, so definitely take the time to heal back up a little bit. because this is a dangerous spot to be in. The reason we were going to go up these stairs here is to kind of avoid the rest of the bad guys. So we're going to come up onto this path and then follow it forward back here. So this is labyrinthian. But in here we've got a second dungeon that we're going to be clearing out. So it looks like we've got another frost troll up the way, which means we're going to save it again. I guess we could quick save for this one here. It's fine. Now we're just going to keep moving. Going to cross this bridge right here. We should be clear from more frost trolls at this point. Once we head up into this area, we're going to unlock this location. And what we're going to do is we're going to drop a hard save right here. Actually, we're going to wait an hour to get Fendel caught up to us. And we're going to hard save right here as well. If you're using the unofficial patch, this part of the guide has been patched out, so you're unable to get the weapons inside this dungeon. However, if you don't have the unofficial patch, we are in good hands right here. If you do, and if you do have the unofficial patch, there are ways to reset this dungeon through the program itself, but there are no official mods allow you to do that. So instead of going into your settings and messing a bunch of stuff up, I just recommend skipping this portion of the video and moving on to the armor portion of the video. Once you've cleaned out this room, do not progress the dungeon. That way, we're just going to quick do a little looting here. These are leveled boots. Sometimes those boots will help you out, like progress your armor a little bit. In this instance, they did not. The last little XP here. Any XP we can get is going to be helpful because we want to be as high level as possible. Going into this next section, putting all of our points into health to make sure that we're okay. Before we go through here, we are going to drop a hard save. We're going to crouch, equip our dwarven bow, or whatever the best bow you have is. And then again, we bought as many arrows as we can. That's going to include our best arrows available, which are the orcish arrows. Once we walk in here a little bit, I'm going to be quick saving a lot through this section. Alright, now that we looted that area, we're going to come over here. I'm going to save again. I'm going to make sure Fendal mostly okay. He's not okay, so we need to wait here for just a little bit, maybe an hour, to make sure we're all healed up and ready to go. I'm going to drop another hard save. There is going to be one that comes out right here on the right. A one-hit kill that guy. Great. Quick save immediately after you're getting that kill. It's only one, which is fortunate. Looting this stuff here. Okay, I'm going to save again. Now we have this guy. So, this guy will be somewhere on your guy. What we're going to do is use any poison that you have. So again, I told us to keep the venom. You could also have other ones here. Paralysis. If you can find a paralysis, that's really good. And he's probably going to equip a bow as soon as you hit him. You got to be careful here. He's very powerful. He's going to wind up to... That's bad right there. Right. So he... his shout takes away your bow. So where'd it go? Here it is. We have to be very careful doing this. So you're managing a couple things. You're managing what arrows you're using. Because if you run out of arrows, you're going to need new ones. You're trying to avoid his shout, and you have to avoid his arrows. He is shooting an ebony bow at you. You're a low-level character. It only takes 1 or 2 hits to kill you. So you have to be very careful. Right there, we ran out of orcish. We're going to switch to our next best. Honestly, we've got this ebony arrow. We're going to shoot it back at him. That was huge. Alright, we got a good hit there. We're going to go these ancient Nordic ones. Ooh, he missed us there. That was lucky. Ooh! We dodged him there. And get him. Alright, perfect. So that is the first of the weapons. Honestly, that's the hardest one to do here. So we have the ebony bow. Comes with arrows. Boom. Definitely save after you've completed that fight. Gonna loot all this stuff here before heading on to the next section. There's one more weapon that we can get. Ebony weapon really early in the game. Thanks, we got some pretty cool equipment there. Okay, now, the next portion of the video, we're going to be doing this next section, so Fendal's not going to be as helpful with us. Right here, we're going to drop a hard save. We're going to sneak, and we're going to jump onto this first wooden beam right here. Now onto the second one. Now on the back end of this third one. We're going to want to stay right here as best we can. So it gives us very little room to work, but from here, we can snipe this ancient Nord here, this Draugr Death Lord. He only has Fu Sword. Oh, he doesn't. Oh, he has Disarm. Usually he does not have Disarm, so we're going to reload. Usually he has Fu Sword. I did not know he could even have Disarm. This is going to make this a lot more difficult. Ooh, nice hit there. Excellent work. Staggered a little bit. Use those poisons if you want as well. Okay, so he's about to do it, so what we're going to do is I'm just going to unequip. Shoots it at us. Boom. That's how you kind of avoid that little trick there. Boom, we got him. And it's only him down here, so you're all set. And there's also this chest that we're going to jump up and try and get. Ah, we missed it. But he's going to usually come with either an ebony greatsword or an ebony battle axe. So great stuff there. And we're taking all that. We're taking this. Taking this. And we're headed out. Alright, and just like that, before we're level 10, we already have an ebony bow and an ebony greatsword. So that's pretty good. Don't know what happened to Fendal. He might have died. Hopefully he did not. Regardless, that's this section. Says you cleared this one instead of this one. Well, that's kind of funny. Now, to get the weapons, to get the armor, now that we're onto the armor portion, we're just going to head over to Whiterun Stables. This part of the video actually has us going into Whiterun, whereas the previous section, we didn't even need to do that. So there's Fendal. He's just fine. Let's take a look at the apparel we found at the end there. But anyway, for the next portion, we're going to head into Whiterun and head over to the Whiterun jail, actually. Anyway, now that we're up near Dragon's Reach, we're going to go right. And we're going to head all the way around the backside to the Whiterun jail. If you are using mods with the anniversary, this is anniversary edition only, or Creation Club if you have the particular Creation Club benefit. And it also works with the unofficial patch, so you can get this armor with the unofficial patch. So we're going to head in straight through the door and read this book on the left right here. And that should start Beyond the Grave. So again, right through here, table, left book, starts Beyond the Grave. That's going to be our main quest. Okay, we're here, and now we're going to head back to the Whiterun Stables and head over to Falkreath. Alright, now that we're on Falkreath, we're going to run straight through the main door here.
The god Arche was once like us.
Alright, we're going to read this Khajiit note.
On to winding water.
You can take all these other interesting points if you're actually curious in the story here. But I'm mostly concerned about getting that armor for us. Alright, once we come to the edge here of Falkreath, we're actually going to drop another hard save, and there's a reason for that. Basically, the armor itself will have enchantments on it, and those enchantments are random. So if you don't like the enchantments you get on the Daedric armor, you can reload that save and then head back there and do it again until you get enchantments that you would like for your build. But since it's not too important to me what enchantments are on there, I'm just going to do the one take here. Anyway, so you follow the big road quite a bit, pretty far. I'm going to show you exactly how to get there. And the roads, for the most part, take you right there. So just follow the big road and then go left. It takes 2 lefts, and then it basically leads you all the way there. Alright, it's going to bring you to this crossroads here. Sometimes there's a bad guy. Mostly a skeleton just runs down here. Boom. Not a big deal. We take a left. That's our first left. And then we just keep following the big road. Just after Half Moon Hill here, Half Moon Mill, we are going to be taking our second left. So heads up. And once you pass the mill, not too much further. And just up here, there's going to be this pile of rocks here, and that's what we're going to use to go off this path just to the left of there. And then you can start to see this ridge line kind of work your way up there to the enemy camp. So in this camp is going to be an enemy bandit with full Daedric armor. And in order to defeat him, we're going to need these ebony bows. So that's why it's super important. If you're unable to get the high level equipment, just know that it's going to be a pretty tough fight. So we are going to drop a save. Here he is. Here's that Daedric armor we want. And there he goes. He's gone. So we're just going to grab that real quick. There we have it. So we just leveled up to level 10. Amazing how fast that happened. And now we potentially, we have another perk point we can put wherever we want. But we have this Daedric armor now. So we got the Daedric plate. And these are just going to be random enchantments that you can get. Again, illusion spell. Probably not going to do a whole lot with that. But the smithing, great enchantment, shock resistance, they're all random. So every time you get them, it will be a random enchantment. I don't mind either way, but if you get enchantments that you don't want, reload the previous save that we did in Markarth, or not Markarth, in Falkreath, and then you can come back, follow the road back here, do it again until you get what you want on there, on the enchantments. But basically, that's it. That is our guide for today. How to take a low level character, or level 1 character even, and get them ebony weapons and Daedric armor basically off the bat in less than an hour and a half of in-game time. That's how long we've been playing, only an hour and 20 minutes, and bam, we already have great armor and great weapons. So thank you all so much for watching this video. If you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, follow me on social media, share the video, and we're trying to get to 400 subs in 2026, so go ahead and hit the sub button. Really helps out the channel, and I really appreciate it. And yeah, I hope this guide has been helpful to you. If you're using the anniversary edition, you can get the armor pretty much at any point in time. And then if you are not using mods, specifically if you are not using the unofficial patch, you can get the weapons at pretty much any time. Any level does not matter. Thank you much for watching. I will see you in the next one.